morning, everybody. So, today I'm going to actually ensure and take us through the psychosocial and the mental well being aspects of the COVID times. Now, this presentation is going to be focused on some amount of data points. It's also going to be focused on the problem, but importantly on the solutions. I'm also keen to share across some of the practices which various workplaces have adopted and how they have made a difference in the lives of our employees. So, thinking about mental health, I've tried to capture what mental health literally means from a WHO perspective, and it's a state of well-being where people can realize his own abilities, can cope with stresses, work productively, and make a contribution. Now, each of us knows that mental health is important. Now, what's interesting is how COVID has aggravated, propagated, or precipitated mental health related issues over a period of time. When we think at the data, what we realize is that mental health has had a significance always. From an occupational health perspective, what you would see is that as industries have evolved, the issues have changed from physical hazards to chemical hazards. Now, the focus is entirely on the psychosocial and mental well being. For industries who have moved up the ladder, I think they are entirely focusing on productivity, presentism, and they are also focusing on mental well-being of employees. So, what's the data? Data says that the cost of mental well-being can be anywhere between 1 trillion. If we take the figures which are globally available, and the figures are much more easily available for the US and UK, it's said that the total burden is around 13%. 91 million lost days are there, and the prevalence of mental health disorders is in a minimum 1 by 4 people, which is 25% of the workplace population. Now, what's also interesting is WHO predicts that by 2030, depression is going to be the leading cause or the leading illness among all of us. So, what does this say? I think this says that the problem or the challenge was always there. What COVID has done is it has brought it more to the forefront. I think as we reflect and as we think about ourselves as leaders within our own industries, most of us have done interventions around the mental well-being aspect. So, looking at the data which is there from the global perspective, I think there's no understatement that it's significant. Now, obviously, we need to also look at the data much more closer home. So, this is an article, this is a highlight which was there in Economic Times, and it said that 36% of employees are battling mental health issues since the pandemic has come up. So, this is really prominent if you think about one third, more than one third of our workforce experiencing mental health issues in some form. It can be in mild reversible forms, or it might have been precipitation and aggravation of what has already happened. Now, it's also interesting to see that there was a study which was conducted by the Sevenfold, and they did a study on the physical as well as the mental health outcomes of what has happened in India. Now, this study is interesting. On the left hand side, they have taken the physical health component, and on the right hand side, they have taken the mental health component. So, in physical health, while most of the people, 52% of the people have suggested that the physical health remain the same, and there was 14% moderate worsening, but when you look at mental health, most of the people, or there was a double number which said mental health has moderately worsened by 29%. So, what this says is while many of us were able to invest on physical health, we were exercising, we were doing our course, we might also have been doing walks, we might have been doing some home related measures on physical health, but how many of us have invested on mental health? And I think this is where it becomes important. The key to optimal health is the right balance. The balance between physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well being. And what this brings to the fore is how do we ensure a right balance specifically based on the issues. Now, as I move forward, there was also some interesting data which was available from Optum. and Optum is a leading employee assistance provider. When Optum did a survey among the employees, what was found is 75% of the employees said that they are more socially isolated. What is socially isolated? It's basically that people felt that they were cut off and they were feeling lonely. There was a certain sense of loneliness and disconnectedness among the employees. 53% felt emotionally exhausted. Now, this is interesting. If you think about emotionally exhausted, why? We have been doing the same work, but I think at the same time we are still feeling exhausted. The answer is simple. The answer is in the human connections, which we have always established, the ability to connect with the people, but also think about the fact that there needs to be an optimum work life balance. What COVID has put to fore is when many of us have been working from home, we have started blurring the line between what has been work and what has been the home time. We have inadvertently started stretching our times and working much more longer hours. Earlier, when we used to come back, we used to be disconnected. But now, there is a very thin line. Sometimes you also hear people saying, well, आप तो घर पे ही हैं, क्या दिक्कत है? हम 8 बजे कर लेंगे कॉल, हम 7 बजे कर लेंगे कॉल. Well, what we are not realizing is we are taxing ourselves significantly, and this is not helping. 40% of the people said that their companies have not even asked them how are they feeling during the pandemic. Now, I'm sure people and the audience who is there out watching virtually, I hope we are not one of them and we have taken good care of our employees. But that's also a feeling many people have said. 38% have said that their mental health is likely to decline since the beginning of the pandemic. Now, what's also interesting is in the first 3 months, people have not felt the decline of mental health. When have people felt the decline? It has been after 6 months have elapsed and they have thought that this is here to stay. I think each of us had a huge amount of hope at the starting. Things are going to be better, we are going to be faster, we are going to be active. As Dr. Rajiv shared in the presentation, we are having a spike. And for all of you who have been following this closely, the spike has happened after 11th of February. 11th of February and plus minus 2 days has been the cutoff period where numbers have suddenly started rising. So each of us who are having this sense of security, अब तो हो गया है, अब वैक्सीन आ गया है, and हमने वैक्सीन लगवा लिया है, it's still not the end. We don't know where this spike is coming from, local strains, imported strains, but the bottom line is this is here to stay and it's going to be there for a longer time. And what this means is we need to take much more active care of our mental health. Now, we also tried to record some of the statements of what employees say. And I think these were interesting statements which came back to us. We are missing the routine. So, earlier days when it was holidays, we used to sleep later. But now it has become regular because we can sleep later and get up later. And if you ask the children, they sometimes, for all of us, they sometimes just wake up maybe 15 minutes or 30 minutes before the school starts. Not the best of the times, but this is what has started becoming happening. Some of the parents in our organization have said they can't be waiting for children to go back to the school. It's demanding as parents to actually do both the things together, work yourself and also see your children working across. Some of the people have said that they have been having uh, a safe feeling which is there at home because they don't need to rush into traffic. They are quite fine. They can actually manage things from home. I think one of the positives which has also come out as a statement was it has been a time to catch up, relax, enjoy the time with the family, which might not have been there. Now, ironically, while we have said that we have been enjoying the time with the family, but what has also been a reality is most of us have not been able to go out in spite of being there together, not have a vacation, not being able to do all of the things which we always long to do. So it's a mixed reaction of what this means. And I think what this has also shown is beyond the COVID infection, what would continually be there or become important is mental health is here to stay. Now, we have talked enough about the problem, and I know that as intellectual beings, we want to hear about the solution. So the question is, what do we do? I think as any rational human being, before we launch into the solution, we need to understand on what is the key framework or what is really happening. Now, what I'm showing out here is the mental health continuum. And this is very similar to the spectrum of health. On the left hand side, we have individuals who have absolutely fantastic functioning. These people are really healthy. These are the people who might be having the mix of emotions, but they are able to easily come out. As we move on the right hand side, we see people who are reacting. And these are the people who sometimes get annoyed, irritated, angry, sad, but they are able to reverse back. If we go further on, there are people who are having more anxiety episodes, panic episodes, and in some cases depression. And the final frontier, or the extreme right, is the red one, which talks about illness. So these are people who are really requiring treatment. And if we need to think about mental health, we need to first start identifying where are our workplaces in this continuum. No point developing solutions until you know the clarity of where your employees are. And I think the key out here is we need to then develop tailored, targeted interventions which affect and manage each of these situations. So, what does that mean? The answer is simple. I think when we think of people who are on the left sides, who are healthy and reacting, the easiest thing to do is self-care. What do I mean by self-care? I think the basic thing about self-care is many of us experience different kind of emotions, but the key is not to get into a victim mentality. We need to ensure that we understand the change framework and we need to manage and come out of it. If we are able to understand that this is a cycle which has its crests as well as troughs, we can be much more comfortable with the change. We can develop our own mechanisms, which might be coping mechanisms or also self-confidence. Now, for the people who are in the orange and the red ones, these are the people who might hardly be 20% of your population. 80% of your population might be on the left part of the spectrum. So we need to ensure that we are able to build up very clear mechanisms of what employees can do, what managers can do, and what leaders and organizations can do. Everyone has a role to play. It's just not the organizations or the senior leadership who are going to manage mental health. No, it's our own responsibility as well. So, breaking this down, this is something what employees can do. Now, I have used two flyers out here from WHO, and WHO had come out with these flyers about what each of us can be doing on coping with stress during the 2019 COVID outbreak. So, I think when we say, and these are simple activities, it can be talking about the right lifestyle, which might be the right diet, sleep, exercise. It might be about ensuring that our vices, our addictions are well in control. It also talks about ensuring that we have the right facts, but we are also able to manage those facts in the best manner. We need to ensure that we are limiting the technology intake. When I say technology intake, only ensuring that we take the right information, but also doing it in a balanced manner. Earlier, when we were all moving across to our offices, many times we wouldn't even get the time to actually keep on looking at the mobiles. But for all of you who are having now the Apple screens or the Samsung ones, there is a feature which says how much time you have spent in your mobiles during the day. And I think that is something which we need to all start looking into. What I have found for myself is I have increased my screen time considerably because when I'm not looking at the mobile, I'm looking at the laptop or I'm speaking to someone. And I think this is causing the kind of mental agony. It's not about the fact that things have significantly changed. The key thing out here is they have slowly changed and hence we are unable to take notice. And sometimes this is adding to the exhaustion and to the challenge. Now, well, these are some of the steps which employees can take. The right hand side also says children also have an important role to play. So if you are engaging with your children in a fun, in a constructive manner, not only you feel happy, but they also feel happy. Additionally, there are some other things which children can be doing. The The simplest of which is how do you control their screen time? Just like us, they have also increased their screen time. One of the manifestations which you can now see is for many of the children, the specs are becoming much more thicker, or simply saying the numbers have started changing. Now, here's the interesting data which has again come from the Sevenfold survey. And this data basically talks about what are the coping mechanisms and well-being. So what you see as the yellow graphs are the different type of coping mechanisms, their effectiveness, and what you see in the red kind of numbers are related to how good they have been from a well-being score. Now, if all of us can see, which is the biggest yellow graph? So it says that most of the people felt good and the mental well-being was enhanced when you connected to your friends and family. Imagine reaching out to an old friend and speaking after a long time. It brings so much of happiness, it brings so much of content to each of us. And which has been the lowest one, lowest yellow graph? Therapy. Well, none of us are looking for the treatment. I think these are more reversible disorders. So the key out here is they have mentioned some of the techniques or the mechanisms which have been helpful for coping. So what you saw on the last slide was what WHO has said. What you see out here is what practically helps. So when we speak about our employees, these are some of the things which we can say to them. Now, there is an interesting fact. If you see at the biggest red score, 6.87, it says the highest red score has come from which yellow bar? But only 29% of the employees or people are utilizing meditation. What this says is, if we are clearly aware of what brings the biggest change, how much are we propagating this at the workplace? And how are we ensuring that we are able to make this data very clear? This is all Indian data. So I'm just using what we have in our country and what was published recently. Now, while I've talked enough about what employees can be doing, managers also have a role to play. Now, managers in most of the organizations are wonderful human beings. They are focused on performance. They know how to get the performance, but they find it difficult to connect on a human basis. And I'm saying this generally for most of the managers. They find it very difficult if people come with mental health issues. And if you ever encounter, they will say, डॉक्टर साहब से मिल लो, पता करके आओ, कुछ इलाज करना है, छुट्टी ले लो. But I think the reality is that what the employee, an early employee, is looking is a bit of encouragement, is a bit of sympathy, and in some cases even empathy. So managers have a significant role to play, especially on ensuring and identifying the early signs of stress. If you have a team, how do you identify what are the initial features? And I think what's very simple and very easy is to at least remain sensitive, at least be a good leader, advocate, follow the practices, and ensure, just ask for support. Just saying, how are you doing today? How is your family? How are you feeling? I think this makes a sea of difference. You don't need complex meditation or you don't need coping techniques. Just saying these three words builds the biggest bond among the employees. And I think this is what all of us can do differently. The second thing is, if you are seeing sustained behavior changes among your employee, this is a time where you can ask him, is there something going wrong? Is there something which I can help you on? Rather than saying, तुम बहुत दिनों से काम ठीक से नहीं कर रहे हो, बहुत गुस्से में रहते हो, जाके मिलते क्यों नहीं हो डॉक्टर से? I think there's a subtle line, a subtle difference about how we look at the situation. And I think the key is coaching. How do we ensure that we are able to coach without being able to mentor out here? It's not about sharing what I did and how I manage. It's more about helping the employee explore their own solutions. And the final one is, if people are having real issues, then in that case, we need to ensure that we are able to provide good access to mental health care. Now, mental health has been a topic of taboo, a stigma for several years. What we can be doing in organizations differently is to have a mental health policy, perhaps have a structure tie up with the suitable insurance and ensure that you have a complete framework. So here's what leaders can do in organizations. I think to deal with mental health, we can be building up resources, which can be employee assistance programs. We can have hubs which might be talking about the different things which are available. Occupational health has a role to play. Champions and ambassadors also have a role to play. And in some organizations, we have also made something called as a mental first aider network. Now, these are basically employees who have gone through certain specific modules, and they are much more sensitive to deal with the subject. So I think what comes out here very importantly is everyone has a role to play, employees, manager, as well as the leaders. Now, while I've talked about the broad framework, but I think what's also important is let's understand what organizations are doing. So I'm going to show and share something about what Indian organizations are doing and also share something on the global perspective. So beginning with an organization close home, Indian Oil. So Indian Oil has been doing this project Happiness and Wellbeing, where they have been focusing on happiness as being the highest emotion. And why is happiness the biggest emotion? Because if a person is happy, he can be working hard, he can really stretch, he can manage the stress to become a eustress. So it's rightly said that if you are happy, you can actually do everything feeling limitless energy with the maximum amount of momentum. Indian Oil has used a self-assessment on happiness, and in addition to the assessment, they have done a lot of communication as well as capacity building on it. So we have had people who have participated. In the center, I think in the blue shirt, it's Dr. Sandeep. So it's good to see him, and I can also recognize some senior leaders out in his organization who have been there. What that says is this is not just coming in from health and well-being or the health services. When you see senior leadership supporting you on the podium, it says that you have sponsorship across the board. And I'm happy to say that while Indian Oil has embarked on this journey quite early, maybe I think 2016 onwards, it has been a resounding success. It has been one of the best practices which has not only worked internally within Indian Oil, but it has also actually come across very strong and been known across the circles. There have been several organizations who have been keen to actually develop something similar, and I think this is where Indian Oil is having a pivotal space. So I think good appreciation to Indian Oil for investing and ensuring that they are able to continue on this. Now let's move to a private sector. So the next organization which I want to cover is Hero MotoCorp. So we have Hero MotoCorp, automobile sector industry, and I think for them the not only the workforce is huge, but they are also having a lot of contractual workforce. So when we see about what Hero MotoCorp did, Hero MotoCorp not only ensured that they had put up a counseling service, which is the employee assistance program, but they also had several other things which might be related to wellness coaching, online health assessment tools, e-workshops. So they worked left, right, and center to ensure that they are able to connect to their employees virtually, even though many of them could not be coming. For all of them who were coming across, they also ensured that there were some workshops or some kind of counselings which actually helped them. Now, in addition to this, they also had webinars, and they were quite a prominent group of doctors who had organized these webinars. So we had Dr. Samir Parekh, we had Dr. Naresh Trehan, Dr. Rahul Bhargav. They also had a Yes Hero Scan initiatives. So this Yes Hero Scan initiative was talking about how people can be investing on mental health through yoga and meditation. They also had Connect through the transcendental meditation, and they had a session by Dr. Frederick Travis, who is one of the leading authorities out there. While they continued on having these virtual sessions, but they were continued emailers, which ensured that people could be having some amount of take-home messages on a regular basis. Last but not the least, they also had sessions with the family members. It does not work if you only approach the entire employee. It's also important that you need to reach out to the family members to make it effective. So this is something which Indian Oil had done really nicely. Now, I've talked about two manufacturing organizations, but let us also have a look at the services sector. Tata Consultancy Services, one of the biggest companies across in India. What TCS has done is they have an initiative called as TCS Cares. And as a part of TCS Cares, they have also initiated focus on the emotional well-being through a helpline, through counseling, as a part of creating a culture and understanding and support. But in additionally, the last bullet, they have increased the insurance cover for mental health related hospitalization. Now, this is really important. If you think about mental health and the mental health professional support, for good medical support, it's really expensive. It was shown in a study that a good counseling session with one of the best experts may be costing even like 18,000 rupees per sitting. Now, this is big money. And what this means is when people hear about these costs, instead of going into counseling, most of us go into cure and try to take the medicines. I think what's important out here is if we have organizations focusing on the right insurance, right kind of support, people can utilize this much more better. Just like TCS, we have one of TCS's competitors in the service sector, Infosys. So what has Infosys done? Infosys also initiated a professional counseling, but their initiative was called as Samaritans. And in Samaritans, they initiated something called as a peer-to-peer counseling network. Now, why is this useful? One would often see and realize that when we speak to each other as a peer, we are able to connect much more better. As opposed to a manager or leader saying, मैंने ऐसे किया, ये मेरे साथ हो सकता, तुम क्यों नहीं कर सकते? And this is entirely different. And this is where we need to start thinking about what can be the networks. Merely offering a EAP is not the right solution or the only solution. We can, how many of us will feel comfortable to speak on a telephone to a person who we do not know or who we cannot connect with? Whereas you would feel more comfortable to speak to someone who is in the same workplace and is having the same kind of pressures, the same kind of upbringing, and maybe also the same kind of experience out in the industry. So Infosys utilized the Samaritans approach, which is a peer-to-peer counseling, and employees use this to discuss both personal as well as professional conditions which might be affecting them. Now, let me also have a caveat, and let me say that when I'm describing these slides, it's just not that these organizations are only having Samaritans or TCS Cares as their initiatives. Well, these are big organizations. They have a complete structure. But I'm trying to describe what has been the key ones, especially related to when they have brought across the COVID times. Now, let me move to what global organizations have done. So, many of us recognize Starbucks. It's coming all across. Many of us love coffee, and many of us might have even experienced and gone across to them. So I'm taking up three organizations: Starbucks, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and AXA Insurance. And what's interesting is when I researched and saw, Starbucks actually started offering access to 20 free sessions through a mental health benefits provider in US called as Lyra Health. And they have been able to use these sessions as counseling sessions or individual sessions to each of their employees. PricewaterhouseCoopers, one of the big four auditing firms, I think for PwC employees, stress is constant. Whether it has been COVID or non-COVID times, they work in a high pressure atmosphere. And what PwC did was, as a gesture, they made Garmin watches available to employees so that they can keep a track of how they have been doing their physical movement, but also looking at the sleep, the other aspects related to that. They also initiated in India something called as Pen Down Day. So what is Pen Down Day? It simply means that on that day, no one is going to use their pens. It means that they will not be having any meetings. It means that people can start investing and looking after their own health. So it's interesting and innovative. AXA Insurance, they launched something called as AXA Better Me. This is a platform, a wellness platform, where people could utilize different kind of modules and also had the services of a yoga instructor. So this is something which some of the global organizations have done. Now, last but not the least, I'm sharing across what GSK, the organization where I'm employed with, has done. And GSK is a global multinational represented in more than 100 countries with more than 100,000 employees. My role in GSK is to support the employee health and well-being of employees all across Asia, but also the global consumer healthcare vertical. Now, in GSK, the challenge for us is that the fact that when we think of mental health also has cultural connotations. What is important mentally out in India is not the same as out in UK. So when we need to think about our approach, it needs to be much more exhaustive, it needs to be much more widespread, and how does it ensure that it brings about the right balance? So in GSK, the approach was first of all about establishing the right environment. When I say the right environment, it is about how people feel comfortable to speak up. If I am having an issue, if I am not feeling good, can I go to my manager and say, आज मुझे अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, मैं आज घर से काम करना चाहता हूँ, या आप मेरे को आज का जो काम है वो मैं दूसरी तरीके से कर सकता हूँ. It's also about how can I connect back to the different people which might be my peers without being judged. One of the biggest challenges with mental health is the moment someone says I have a mental health issue, they start thinking he needs to go to a psychiatrist or he has depression. Common language is sometimes earlier people used to say ye to pagal hai. I think that's the biggest stigma which actually moves the people away from mental health. And I think what we are trying to create is it's okay not to be okay. Let's face the fact. Let's say we are not okay, but we can coexist. Now, if we need to do this, we need to have a very clear understanding all across the organization, right from leaders to managers to everyone. One of the key things which we realized is when we say this, do we really mean it? And if we really mean it, do our managers really understand what needs to be done? And in most of the cases, what we found is managers had no clue about what and how they can be identifying the initial stressors, but leave aside the stressors, how and what to do if someone comes to them. So we developed something called as a manager mental health module, where we trained our managers globally across on how and what role they can be playing. We developed programs which focused on 4 aspects of health or resilience, as we say. Resilience is nothing but bouncing back. Bouncing back from where? Bouncing back from adversities, bouncing back from stress, and ensuring that we build up the right balance between physical health, mental health, emotional, and spiritual health. So, the third thing which we developed was we wanted to have resources which are available virtually, but resources which might also be existing through the face-to-face options. Now, this is something as a simple slide to say what we have been doing. Now, it's difficult sometimes to capture everything in a single slide, but while we have an employee assistance program, we also have dedicated 2.5-day energy for performance programs, which are developed and led by the Human Performance Institute. Now, these programs are one of the most expensive programs, and in GSK, it costs us more than 6 figures for an individual employee to go through them. The USP of this program is that it talks about how do you connect the 4 dimensions of energies, but also with your purpose and mission. If we are able to activate the purpose mission in sync with the 4 energies, I think we have a person for life. And this is what has made a huge difference for us at GSK. We have developed programs called as personal resilience on a 1-day format. We have mindfulness sessions which people have been following over 16 weeks through trained facilitators. We have tied up with academia, different kind of institutions and vendors to bring these programs in different models out to us at GSK. We are also having conversation tips. I talked about what can managers do. I think in most of the cases, managers need to initiate conversations which are sensitive but also are able to broach the subject right. Finally, we have something called as a virtual platform called Healthy Life, and Healthy Life is actually bringing all of our health and well-being interventions virtually available on your mobiles. What we heard as feedback from our employees was it's not possible for many employees to do face-to-face interventions because of various reasons. The newer generation said to us, everyone has moved into a tech mode. If you want to deliver health, I would like to have more personalized, customized, and made to by choices. So we took out, and what we have now is Healthy Life, which is a global program which has been rolled out to all of our people. Similarly, we have interventions for teams as well as managers, and I think this is simply the numbers of what we have done in the last year. So I think this talks about the kind of participants, the numbers of people who have engaged, and I can say very proudly that in last 2020, these numbers are huge volume numbers, whether it's the 12,000 plus people who have participated in COVID webinars, 5,200 in mindfulness sessions, 40,000 employees who have experienced healthy life, or even 6,500 people who have participated in the online resources. We also partner with Facebook, and we have something called as Workplace, which is Facebook for the organizations. This is a similar platform where people can just engage and do things. So coming towards the end, I think the take home message which I want everyone to go back with is mental health is important. When you see the bulb on the right side, there are so many things which go into mental health, and what you see out there is several aspects which we need to build up. Mental health is not something which is a straightforward topic. It needs to be dealt in a nuanced way, and it's a continuously evolving kind of a thing which we need to invest on. I want to end my session with a quote by Dr. Tedros, Director General of World Health Organization, who said, "Good mental health is absolutely fundamental to the overall health and well-being." So friends, let me first thank uh, Gas Authority of India, Dr. Chandra Tripathi, for inviting me to do this oration, and I feel really proud to actually share my perspectives on mental health. Thank you.